Hello, everybody. You are on a Monday night with Mike Donahue here with co-host Delaney Spencer. Delaney, how you doing?
Yes. I'm doing good.
Yeah, what's going on?
Not much.
Yeah, did you have a cold week? We were cold up here. I mean, you're only
Oh
on,
yeah, it's
is it freezing?
freezing.
Yeah, it's nuts. It was crazy. And then today it's like 50. So
Mm-hmm.
it was like minus 10 2 days ago.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
awful.
know. You know, my wife's family, your family too, has
Mm-hmm.
they have calves right now, and so they were having to put the calves in the truck with them when they were born and stuff
Yep.
because I guess one of the bulls got out and got a little busy early, so so they were supposed to have calves now. I don't know the whole farming thing because I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, so like they start talking this stuff, my eyes glaze over. I'm like, all right, but they apparently these cows got out, the bull got out, messed with the cows early, so these calves came early, so they came right in the middle of this really cold time. So that's too bad.
Perfect timing. I mean,
Yeah, you live no, you don't live. You live in town, right? Or kind
no,
of. No,
no.
you live. Oh, that's right. You live outside of town. You have,
Yes.
you have cows?
No, we have chickens.
Do you really? Are
Yeah.
they? Do they lay eggs?
Yep.
Nice.
No bird flu yet.
Oh, thank God. Yeah. Oh, eggs are like a buck each, or no, they're more than
Yeah.
that. That's crazy. Wow. Well, okay. So last week was a hit, Delaney. We had like almost 400, I think a little over 400 views. And I
Yes.
don't usually get more than like 50 or 60. So you were a hit. It was all because of you.
Hopefully it's the same this week.
And we'll see. We will see. Well, those of you that are watching this, we are trying to help young people understand their true value. And so um, when I wrote this book, Value Up, Delaney and I are going to kind of riff on the book a little bit and talk some about the book. And we'll talk more towards the end about how you can get the book free. It's a free download, so you can, you don't have to buy it. You can read it, but I highly recommend reading this book. It's not the Bible or anything, but it's a walkthrough on your value, your true intrinsic value, not your social value and what the world around you thinks about your value. But so I have a friend of mine who's a psychologist, and her and I are working on a project together, and she wrote this, and I'm going to read this to you. This is a psychological uh, rendition of what I was trying to say in the book. Okay, so basically, she writes, psychological research suggests that our sense of self is largely shaped by our environment. Developmental psychologists such as Erik Erikson emphasize that identity formation begins in early childhood and is influenced by the messages we received from caregivers, authority figures, and the world around us. Albert Bonder's social learning theory supports this idea, demonstrating that children absorb and internalize behaviors, beliefs, and values through observation and reinforcement. As young children, our impressionable minds act like sponges, soaking up what those around us believe and value. The way I put it in the book is I talked about value messages. So the beginning of the book, the introduction to the book, I talk about this girl who came down and basically talked about she hated truck stops. I think we talked about that last week. And then on the same like that same year, another kid came up to me who was a really rich kid and was crying and saying, "Hey, I'm self medicating with drugs and alcohol." And when I asked him why, he said he was really struggling with the fact that he didn't think his parents really loved him because they were never around. Rich family. The guy comes home. There's a $50 bill sitting on the counter that says, "Go get yourself something to eat. We're going to be busy this week." So you get this girl who is sitting in truck stops, realizing that, her mom is doing this stuff, and that's bad value messages, right? Horrible value messages she's getting. But also this kid who's, basically rich, is going to an Ivy League school. That's what I found out later. And to play lacrosse, he was a stud. And then, he's getting the same message that he wasn't loved and valued. So I think those value messages that we get growing up are really important. What do you think, Delaney?
I think, yeah, for sure. And I'm studying to be a psychologist, and I mean, not currently, but I've taken the classes, a few classes, and That's 100% true. Like, when your mind is developing, I mean, you think about it, it only makes sense. What you hear goes into your mind and it stays in there because it's not fully formed yet. Like, you hear something and you believe it. Like when you're a kid, if someone tells you that there's a monster under your bed, you're going to believe it and then you're going to be freaked out. So it's the same thing. Like if you're told that you're not good enough, or if you're told um, that you'll never amount to anything, it's going to stay in your mind because you're young and you're developing, and that's just how it is. That's how your body works, and that's how your mind works. So for
Do you
sure,
think,
value message.
yeah, do you think that it matters like on who says it? Like if it's a parent versus a sibling versus a neighbor down the street?
I think so in a way. I mean, no matter who says it, it's going to affect you, but it's going to affect you in different ways. So if it's your parent and that is someone who you look up to, especially if you're young, because they're raising you, they're almost all you know, then you're kind of more apt to believe it more and you're more apt to believe it deeply, like deeper. And it's going to stick with you longer, I think, in my opinion, if it's someone you're really close to.
Yeah, and I think those value messages contribute to an overall self-worth, right? So if you the way I look at it is like I kind of picture this sometimes in my head where kids are walking into a school every day with a number on their chest. I mean, not literally, but like that's what I picture. Like there's this number that's inside of them that that's on them that basically is telling the world, if it could, what they think about themselves. Not what the social world thinks of them, but what they think of themselves. Right. And I think I mentioned this last week that or maybe I didn't, but I remember walking into my school trying to project that I was a 10, that I thought I was perfect, right? I was great. But oh my God, on the inside, I felt like a two, you know, I didn't, because I got value messages that said, you're not worth anything, but you can't front that. You can't let people see that. What do you think that's accurate about the numbers?
I think so, yeah. I mean, like we talked about last week too, you're always going to show up somewhere with a face put on, and you're always going to show up somewhere acting better than you are. And it's the same like with your value. Like you're going to act like you feel better about yourself, about your value than you actually do, because you can't show people that you're feeling bad about yourself. It's just not acceptable socially.
Right. But there's that weird tension going on that, I may not feel like I'm, you know, all that, but I have to let you think that
Hmm.
I am, and so there's that thing, right? But all right, so that's the whole like social perception of that. But then dealing with it, like really dealing with it on your own, like when you're trying to figure out what you're really worth intrinsically, I think like those messages are really important, right? I mean, the way I look at it, I'm older now, and I've come through life, and I've seen a lot of things, but now I go, well, wait, I was always a 10. I was always intrinsically a 10. And we don't want to get into a religious conversation, just because we don't want to freak people out. So we'll just put it like this. I think there's a truth that goes beyond what those messages are, right? I think that there's a source of value that's bigger than my circumstances. It has to be, because if my circumstances are bad, then I'm bad, right? That's I'm a bad seed, but that's not true, right? As I got older, and I was like, wait, I really am valuable. I just didn't see that I was valuable. Without getting into a religious conversation, do you think that there is a source that goes beyond what our environment is about our true intrinsic value?
Personally, I think so. But even, like you said, not to get religious, but even
Yeah.
if you don't necessarily believe in anything particular, like just in general, there has to be something, some kind of force or a feeling that is beyond what we can understand that's acting on our value and acting on our intrinsic value because it just doesn't make sense. Like you said, like your circumstances don't define you, but if you are living or going through rough circumstances, then your perception of your value is going to reflect off of that. But that's just not true. So there has to be something else out there that's
Right.
beyond ourselves.
Right. And the way I put it in the book was, you basically, if it's God and you believe it's God, that's totally your call. Me personally, I do believe it's God, but then also there's a poem I really liked when I was a kid growing up by Max Lucado. It's called the Desiderata, and in there he says, we are children of the universe. I'm paraphrasing this, but children of the universe. We have a right to be here, and that just basically says it, that we're not. Not to compare, right? It's like we you don't look around and go, that guy's a 10, that guy's a 6, that guy's a 5. It's like we all have intrinsic value that, again, either God or the universe or whatever, and that's totally up to you, the audience that are watching this. You figure that out on your own. What I want to emphasize more than anything is there is a source. There has to be a source, like Delaney just said. There's got to be a source that goes beyond that, because the way I look, why I talk about it in schools, as I bring up the seed, right? And I go, if I planted this seed in a pot that had, good soil, fertilizer, we watered it every day, took care of it. Obviously, that thing's going to grow, and it's going to be great. You put it in sand or dirt, and it's not. Is it the seed's fault? No, it's the environment, right? So, like, a lot of what I see as a speaker, a lot of kids internalize their value. They really think that they don't deserve anything good because of their circumstance. It breaks my heart, because all of them really could do anything and everything they wanted to do if they realized their true value. You must see that, like, in school, like with kids you go to school with. That it's not like you want to gossip or anything, but you know some things about people because you live in a small town, so you know stuff, and you must see sometimes people acting out, their what they really feel about themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't like that. I wish everybody could see, their true value. There's a teenage movie that I don't like teenage movies because they usually make teenagers look stupid, but this one's good. It's decent. It's old, but it's called The Perks of Being a Wallflower. And have you seen that?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good movie. There's a line in it where the teacher and the student are talking, and this student asks the teacher, "Hey, why, basically, why does my sister keep getting used by these guys? My sister's awesome. I live with her. I know she's amazing. Why does she keep getting used by these jerky guys?" And he basically said, we expect the love we think we deserve. We accept the love we think we deserve. And what do you think that means? Put that in your words. We accept the
I
love we
think
think we deserve.
I think if internally, emotionally, you think that you're a bad person, that you don't deserve anything good, whether it's for something that you've done, something that you haven't done, but like a circumstance that you're in, if you think that you are not enough, then you're going to accept people treating you like you're not enough. Just exactly what it says. Like, if you know your worth and you know how powerful you are, you know how special you are to be on this earth and to be in the presence of these people, and someone is treating you like that, you're not going to accept it because you know that you deserve better. And that's a lot of things with like relationships and stuff too. People don't realize that, but if you have an internal mindset that you're a horrible person and someone treats you like a horrible person, you're going to accept it because that's what you think you deserve.
Yeah.
Exactly what it says.
I remember when I was growing up, I worked for this restaurant, and there was a store that opened up. There was a high end furniture store right down the street, and the owner of our restaurant knew the owner of this furniture store, so they had a few of us go over there and help. When they were moving in, move all the furniture in. And one of the guys came up to me that owned the store, and he goes, "Boy, you're a really hard worker. I want you to work for me. Would you be willing to leave that restaurant and come?" He was already cleared it with Vinny or whatever, and I want to hire you. And what was weird was this was like this high end restaurant. I mean, furniture store, and I just didn't think I was worthy to work there. So I told him no, and it was 100% the way I felt about myself. It wasn't, it would have been a great opportunity for me, but I felt comfortable in this I was a dishwasher at this restaurant. I felt comfortable just being that guy because that's what I expected of myself, and that's what was expected of me. And years later, when I figured out that was valuable, I remember looking back at that and going, "Man, I wish I would have taken that job because that guy saw something in me that I didn't see in myself." And I think that happens all the time to people. So I love this quote. I want to get your opinion on this. A hungry need is a dangerous need. A hungry need is a dangerous need. When you need love or you need anything really bad, that can be dangerous. What does that mean? What do you think?
Immediately, I think of like settling for something. So, if you want something really bad, you are going to settle for something that's even remotely close to that because you want it very bad. Now, instead of waiting in terms of love, if you get a boyfriend or a girlfriend and they aren't treating you right, but they still love you, kind of, they say they love you, but they're not treating you right, but you have a boyfriend or you have a girlfriend. So it makes you feel good because that's all you wanted. All you wanted was love. And even though this isn't actually love, I mean, it's the closest thing to it. And that's what you wanted. So instead of waiting for something better that will most definitely come, you just settle and you accept, again, you accept what you think you deserve and you settle for less because you want it right now.
It's like that girl at the. I always mention this story. The assemblies that she was next to me and she goes, I know the guy that I'm dating is using me, and I'm like, well, break up with him. And she's like, I would rather hear I love you fake than not hear it at all. And it broke
Mm-hmm.
my heart because she got into her story and started, talking about again her circumstances were telling her she wasn't worth much, so she just settled in for this idiot guy. One night in my youth group, when I was a youth pastor, I did this. I There was a football team that practiced. A bunch of them, like 15 to 20 of them, came over right from practice to my youth group on Wednesday nights, and they didn't get to eat. So they would come in, they were hungry, and so one night I brought out a pizza, and I actually bought the whole team pizza, but they didn't know this. So the pizza was in the back, but I took one out and I brought it out and I auctioned it off to see how much money I get for it. And I got like $65 for that pizza. I paid $12 for it, right? And I got 65 for it. And I gave them the money back, but I went through this whole charade of like trying to auction it off, and they were so hungry. These guys were just doing anything to get that pizza. And then that was the life lesson that night was you'll do anything when you're hungry for it, right? So I guess to wind all this down is to say, that's one of the reasons why knowing your value is incredibly important because it doesn't make you impervious to bad people, but it acts like a shield that you're not so hungry that you need this so bad that you overlook, like you said, you overlook things that you wouldn't ordinarily overlook because you're not that hungry, right? You wouldn't pay that much for the pizza if you had already eaten it, right? If you weren't hungry, but you will. So yeah, I mean, I think that's important stuff. That's really important to know your value. So here is the book. This is a free download. I mean, you can buy the hard copy, and I'll put down on the notes. I'll put away. You can do that as well if you want the hard copy. But you can, and the only reason we charge for that is to buy more books. So it's not like we're trying to make a lot of money. But bottom line is, you can download it for free. And I would highly recommend you reading the book and maybe going through it. Next week, we're going to talk about the second chapter and just kind of go through it, you know, probably chapter by chapter and just kind of go through it. But I want to really just motivate you to read this book. Delaney, what do you think? Do you think they should read the book?
I think so, for sure. I mean, even if you don't like reading, I mean, I don't hate reading, but I don't love it. And even if you don't like reading, it's not like reading something for school. It's like learning something that you need to know instead of something that you feel like you just have to learn.
Yeah.
Like that's the big thing think, especially with this generation, is you say read a book and they're not going to do it because it's a book. But it's not like reading a book because you have to. Like I just said, it's not like an English class where you feel like you just have to read it and get it over with. This is something that you should want to do. You should want to read it to better yourself and to better your understanding of yourself and your thinking of yourself. So just because it's a book, don't throw away the opportunity to read it. I mean, it's
There you
free.
go. It's free. It's
It's
free. Look at
free.
that. It's free. I actually, it's funny. I was up in Michigan a couple weeks ago, and I was there for a couple days. So this girl got the book and found me the next day, and she read like the first two chapters, and she goes, "Oh my god!" She goes, "You don't mess around, do you? Like you came right out of the gate." Like she's like,
Mm-hmm.
because it's pretty intense. The actually the forward is by Craig Scott. He was a Columbine survivor,
Mm-hmm.
and he basically says in there, "I'm the victim of two boys that didn't value themselves. They didn't value human life. They didn't value themselves. They didn't value because we and you said it last week. You said it so good that when you don't value yourself, you don't value others, and
Mm-hmm.
they didn't, and to the point where they went in and shot up the school, and so it's horrible. But Craig was a victim of that. I mean, laying in the he actually literally laid in the blood of one of the kids that had already passed away just to make it look like he was dead, and he's one of my best friends, and he wrote the forward to this, and he said, "I'm the victim of two guys that didn't value themselves." Right. So it's pretty important that you realize how valuable you really are. So Delaney, another great job. You did
Yeah.
super duper. You have anything you want to say before we wrap this up?
I don't think so. Just, I mean, I'm gonna plug the book. Read the book. Like I said, it's free. You have literally nothing to lose.
Don't wait for the movie. There
Yeah.
might be a movie. Delaney will be the star of the show.
Oh,
She'll be
yeah.
she'll be yeah. Should be great. Yeah, and just again, those of you that are watching this, we want to do more stuff on this and help you with just teenage stuff. And Delaney's going to help us out, putting our finger on what's happening with you. So, all right, everybody, have a great week. We'll see you next week, Monday night, with Mike, co-host Delaney Spencer.
Bye.
I'll see you later.